Hey, what's up, everyone? It is the Lemesis, your nemesis, but you can call me Lem. And welcome to just another Cheesehead podcast. And today we're going to have a not so live reaction of the Packers 2024 schedule that's coming up this next season. To be honest with you, I'm actually a little bit late to the party because this schedule was released back on January 8th, I believe. But because of football and everything else that was going on, we didn't even have the Super Bowl yet, and we were in the playoffs. I think it was something that kind of went under the radar. Now, we don't have the specific dates of these games, so we're just looking at the teams that we're going to be playing, and then we're going to be looking at a later video and or podcast, and I'm going to do that. We're going to go over the specific dates. I don't think that my reasoning or I don't think my reasoning will change. I mean, depending on who we pick up during free agency, etc. But I'm going to give a live reaction to you, at least, on what I think our schedule, what I think our record will be by the end of the season. And then, of course, that's subject to change based on what happens during the draft and who we pick up and free agency, etc. So let's get started. Also, want to thank everyone for liking and subscribing and showing me some love. I appreciate all the comments of some of the Packer fans that reached out to me on the last video that I did. I think it's a good thing because, we want to get all the stupid reasoning out of the way. So the more you can engage with me to tell me some of the dumb things you believe, the better, just so that I know what I need to work on for next time to help educate you. Of course, I'm just slightly joking, but it is good to make sure that you guys comment, like, and subscribe. It's just funny, some of the conclusions that people draw. And I appreciate it because, hey, I'm just as passionate as you. And it would bother me if you were knocking a team that I love. But then the funny part is I love that team just as much as you do. I'm just more sober minded. But that's okay. We can have our differences of opinions. But let's just get into the schedule and get started. So, yeah, this was posted January 8th of 2024. Mike Spofford pulled it up. So these are our opponents. They've been determined as of January 8th. Today's February 23rd, so we are just slightly late. And there's a slight evaluation I want to go over as well. I just want to look at the teams that we're opposing. I want to look at their ranking offensively, and then I want to look at their scoring defenses. Now, of course, that's all going to change because every season there's a new team, but it does give us a gauge of the kind of strength of schedule. I do want to read through this. Let's see what we got here. Mike Spofford says, with the 2023 regular season in the books, here are the opponents. It will be the NFC's turn to host the 17th game. So the Green Bay will have 9 home games in the regular season in 2024 and 8 on the road. They break down as follows. And then we'll go over that. So then dates, kickoff, and broadcast network, all games in 2024 schedule will be announced in the spring. All teams in the NFC North will face all the teams in both the NFC West and AFC South next season. 2 at home and 2 on the road with each division. The home matchups with the Saints and Dolphins, as well on the road matchup with the Eagles, are determined based on those teams finishing in the same place in their respective divisions, which is second as the Packers in the NFC North in 2023. So let's get to the schedule. You got a couple teams that were just released there. Thought there were some other juicy bits. Maybe him going over the strength of schedule. But let's check this out. So we have our home games as usual and our away games as usual. The Bears, the Lions, the Vikings. Now, I tend to think we beat the Bears twice because the Bears still suck, right? They still don't know what's going on with Justin Fields. They may get Caleb Williams. We don't know. The draft isn't upon us quite yet. That will be coming up, I believe, in April. So I still think we get 2 victories against the Bears. So that's 2 wins. Even if they pick up Caleb Williams, I doubt we're going to see instant success immediately from them. To me, like I was talking to my buddy, and I actually want to give a shout out to my buddy Floyd. For some reason, he must be like the Packer insider for me because he has triggered a lot of my podcast videos. He just gives me a call. We start talking about Packer stuff, and he's the one who told me about the schedule. He was like, man, did you see the schedule? And I was like, no, I had no idea. So I did not see the schedule, and it's not like I'm not subscribed. I guess I just don't check my emails as regularly. But I went and checked in and spoke with him a little bit about what I thought, and I feel like I'm just going to come to the same conclusion. Who knows? Maybe we'll see. Maybe it'll be a slight tweak from what I spoke to him on the phone about. But then we have the Lions and the Vikings. Now, okay. Last year, we split with the Lions. Last year, we split with the Vikings. I don't think we would have beat the Vikings back to both times if we would have had to face Kirk Cousins. I mean, clearly that team was drastically different until Kirk Cousins took that fall. They beat us handily the first time around. So this is kind of like one of those, if Kirk Cousins comes back, because I heard the rumors of Justin Jefferson wanting Kirk Cousins to come back. If he comes back and he's healthy, I tend to think the Vikings are going to be a legitimate team to contend. I don't see us finishing second if we had to face the Vikings. I mean, I just think of the last season. If we have Kirk Cousins in that game against the Vikings, I don't think we win that game. I really don't. And I don't think we make the playoffs. So, but that's football. You got to stay healthy all year. So I'm not trying to make any excuses. I'm just speaking the reality of the whole thing. So as of right now, I'm going to assume Kirk Cousins comes back because there's really no one else out there. I mean, are they going to really want to rebuild and start from scratch with such a great receiver? And their offense was decent before Kirk Cousins took the dive. Now, they did struggle. They lost some games early in the season, but they lost games against legitimate teams. So, and then the NFC is really weak. I mean, let's be real. I mean, I was surprised to see. I wasn't surprised about the Dallas Cowboy game in the playoffs against the Packers, against us. But I was even a little bit surprised at the 49ers struggling against us. But we also have to remember they did take off that week, the first week of the playoffs. So, you're not playing a game. You're kind of weak. I mean, if you're rusty is specifically what I'm saying. If you look at the Super Bowl, that defense looked like Green Bay wouldn't have scored anything. Right? If that defense comes out in the first week or the second week of the playoffs when we face the 49ers, we don't score a point. That defense was incredible. At some point, I honestly thought the 49ers were going to win. I picked the Chiefs because of Pat Mahomes, but man, there was several times in that game that I was like, I don't know what's going on here. But these guys look a little shaky. But to get back to the Vikings and Lions, I say we split again. So let's put a win column here, loss column here. So I say we win against the Lions, lose against the Lions, win against the Vikings, lose against the Vikings. So that puts us at 4-2 because the Bears still suck. So then we got the Cardinals at home. I don't believe in Kyler Murray at all. I know I saw the little Johnny Manziel interview with Shannon Sharp, and he was talking about how Kyler Murray was the best quarterback out of college in Texas, and he was just blah, 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 blah. But he sucks on the NFL field, and I just don't see what he's talking about. So I'm sure he was fantastic in college, but when you with the big boys, no pun intended because he's so short, he's not able to do what he was able to do in college, at least so far. So I see us getting a W there, and I'm giving you more of a favorable, I'm leaning more Jordan Love here, right? Because I still don't think that game against the 49ers, the way it ended, was good. I don't think at all, because that clearly was a team that was just trying to give us a W, made it real easy, and we just kind of handed them the win. The only thing I take away from last season is that Matt LaFleur, he stepped his game up when it comes to coaching, so I can't take that away from him. Then we have the Texans at home. I do think we lose that game. I think C.J. Stroud's going to prove to be the better quarterback. Their defense looked really good. I mean, he brought them to the 4th seed in their division, in their conference, last year. I mean, we barely made the 7th seed. I think C.J. Stroud gets better. I mean, if Jordan Love sat for 3 years and then played his 4th year, and in my opinion, he barely played. I wouldn't say he played better than C.J. Stroud, but it's not like I think C.J. Stroud had the better season. I've already talked about this. I already went over the numbers. You could check the comments. He clearly did. I think the touchdowns are inflated just simply because we talked about this. If you watched every game last year, you see it was 23 touchdowns for C.J. Stroud to 5 interceptions. I mean, he's on pace for having almost 50 with 10 interceptions. And then you have Jordan Love with 32 or 33 touchdowns, but he's got 11 picks. And to me, what I saw C.J. Stroud do in his first year was much more impressive. He won, Rookie of the Year, and he was throwing the ball all over the place. He had games where he was averaging 400 or 500, in that game. Not averaging, but he had 400 yards in a game. And yeah, you could say the same thing about Jordan Love against the Dallas Cowboys. You could say the same thing about Jordan Love against the Bears. But again, it's the Bears, they suck, and the Dallas Cowboys who, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. They will always implode and make, Matt Flynn look amazing, so to speak, right? It's just any guy can have a given day because if you're in the NFL, you're great, you're talented. But I saw C.J. Stroud consistently doing that against legitimate teams. So I need to see more from Jordan Love because, this is the reason why I got annoyed at people who couldn't understand this. Like if a guy plays 1 year, normally when a rookie comes in, he plays on his rookie contract. And then, of course, he kind of just plummets and fizzles out. That's typically what happens. Most guys don't do that. C.J. Stroud comes in, his rookie contract, his first year, he plays incredible. He's not going to get that big check or that big contract next year. Aaron Rodgers didn't do that either. The contract that Aaron Rodgers played on was nowhere near compared to what Jordan Love is going to get this offseason. So my point is, it's logical for anyone to sit there and think, hey, this guy hasn't played for us hasn't played for us long. We should try to give him maybe a year-to-year contract. Put a franchise tag on the guy. Pull a Kirk Cousins. Hey, man, you didn't play on your rookie contract. We think you're good. We just want to see you consistently do this again. I mean, this last season, we were 9-8. We don't expect for you to have all these wins. And you did play well on the back end of your season, but let's see you do it again. And if you do it again, we're going to pay you top dollar of what a quarterback gets. We see you do it again. Boom. I mean, barring the fact that you don't get hurt, right? Because that's the issue, right? The issue is he's not going to want to do that because if he gets hurt, then he loses out on the money. We get all that. We understand the salary cap. So you idiots who think I don't get the salary cap, y'all can go kick rocks. I'm the one doing the podcast while you're just sitting there listening, right? So shut up. But anyway, I get the whole issue with wanting to get that money. But from a fan perspective, here's what I'm trying to avoid. If this kid comes out, he gets this massive contract, $48 million, $52 million per year, then when he stinks it up, the same people who are just as passionate about Jordan Love is going to dump on the kid. Because now he's making $50 million a year and, he's not that good now. And I could have just told you, hey, I really don't know if this kid is really going to be that good or not, but I don't think we should put these expectations on him, like giving him this retarded massive contract and think that like, okay, well, if he doesn't live up to it, then I'm going to, pound on the kid and just dog the kid. No. So to me, I'm just having realistic expectations. I don't see the problem in giving this kid a franchise tag and or giving him a small little contract for maybe 2 to 3 years, maybe giving him something like 30-something million, maybe high 30-something million and being like, hey, we'll give you the option to restructure the contract after like 2 years. And if we give you a contract where you're making like 38, 39 million or maybe 36 million per year, then if something bad happens, bro, you got 30-something million. We can guarantee you like 50 million, right? So then if you get injured, you're a millionaire. So it's not a big deal. So the odds are in his favor. At the end of the day, if he can't finish his career and he can't play in the NFL, he's got millions of dollars. And then also, we want you to prove yourself. So that's my whole point. Now, that's just me spitballing, coming up with numbers. We get all the cap was just increased, all that garbage, blah, blah, blah. If you're going to talk that trash, don't bother writing in the comments. But my point is, this kid hasn't proven himself yet. Let's give him more time to prove himself. Let's be very sure so that this conversation doesn't go on, right? You and I never argued about Aaron Rodgers. We might have argued about him in the first year, and then the second year, you kept your mouth shut. No one was saying anything. When you see him going blow for blow with Kurt Warner in the playoffs, you were more outraged at the face mask that didn't get called. Not everybody is on board with Jordan Love. So my point is, let's agree on making sure he's the real deal. If I'm wrong and he convinces you that he's good enough, well, let's just wait till we're all convinced. Then if that's the case, then we can move on to the rest of the team. But to hamper your team and give this guy that kind of money so soon, if he pans out to be trash and he starts to slip up and you start to realize he's inconsistent and he's not, because people, I said the comparison to Brett Favre. The difference is Brett Favre won 3 MVPs and he went to the Super Bowl twice and he was a Super Bowl champion. So when he throws those stupid picks, you have all these great highlights of this great player lighting it up. So it's not that big of a deal when you look at the picks Favre has thrown when you compare it to all the greatness he's shown on the field. But Jordan Love hasn't won anything. So when we try to compare him to Brett Favre immediately, you have to look at the side of like, well, what else has he done? Absolutely nothing. So when you try to just chalk up that pick to like, well, that's what Favre did, the comparison is irrational. It doesn't make any sense because he hasn't won anything for us. When he starts winning things for us and he gets MVPs and he takes us to Super Bowls and he wins Super Bowls, then the comparison is warranted. But until he does that, to me, it's disrespectful to even talk about the lows of Brett Favre and to compare him to Jordan Love when Jordan Love hasn't even come close to doing what Brett Favre has done. And you can dog me and say I'd made the comparison, but my point was there was too many great things Favre did for me to remember all the egregious interceptions that he threw. I think that's the main point. And Jordan Love hasn't done enough for me to just forgive those egregious interceptions. They were just absolutely terrible. So I know this is a long-winded way of saying I think the Texans beat us. I don't see us beating the Texans because I don't know if Jordan Love's going to come out and go blow for blow with somebody like C.J. Stroud. I tend to think C.J. Stroud has a better odds and a better chance of making a greater leap the next season and becoming an elite quarterback than Jordan Love. Now, I hope Jordan Love becomes an elite quarterback. I don't know. We saw signs of it last year, but again, I don't like how we use the running game to get into position into the red zone. There's no denying it. You can't look at the numbers and say otherwise. We rode the backs of the running back going down the field, and then we just gave the ball to Jordan Love to throw the touchdown, and it would just be a lob up into the corner of the end zone. I said this earlier in the season. Him throwing the ball to the corner of the end zone, that's probably his best throw. He can throw dimes in the red zone and get these touchdowns all day. That's fantastic. But what good does it do if you're just padding his stats by giving him the ball like Russell Wilson did at the goal line in the Super Bowl against the Patriots when you could easily just run the ball in with Marshawn Lynch? You're just going to create a disgruntled team. The locker room's not going to like it if you're just trying to make him look good for the sake of looking good. Because when he would throw the ball down the field and guys would be wide open, I talked with my buddy, and I know you guys have seen it. What was happening? Guys would be wide open, which I don't even know how Matt LaFleur was able to do that. And when he would throw the ball, he underthrew them regularly all season long. Guys had to slow down. They were falling and stumbling on the ground to catch these wide open passes because Jordan Love, whether he was under pressure or not, he just didn't throw the ball accurately like that. So that's what I'm talking about. I saw C.J. Stroud throw the ball accurately down the field. And this is going to be one of those games, which I don't know when this game will happen, but it'll be a game that I'm really looking forward to. And hopefully when we get to that game, C.J. Stroud will be playing really well, and I hope Jordan Love will be playing pretty well so that we can see these two guys as quote-unquote juggernauts go at it. Then we have the Colts. Now, I do want to go over some of the stats of some of these teams just to add more context to everything, and this is kind of one of those teams that I want to look at because I didn't pay attention too much last year of the Indianapolis Colts. So Indianapolis is way at the bottom here, number 28. Their opponents' points per game. I mean, we got to remember the gap between rank 10 and rank 28 is like 2 points, like 2.5 points. It's not that much. So Indianapolis was ranked 28th, but they gave up 24.4 points a game. And then like Dallas gave up 20.2 points per game. So, I mean, the Colts, their defense, we would have scored maybe an extra field goal against them. And then they have Gardner Minshew, so they don't really have a QB. So I tend to think we get that W, and we beat the Colts. Then we have the Miami Dolphins. I mean, I don't know. I just think they can put up a lot of points, and let's look at Indianapolis. Indianapolis scored 23.3 points per game. So, and that's why they were at where they were. They didn't make the playoffs. Yeah, I would say we win against the Indianapolis Colts. Again, barring major changes. We don't know who gets picked up, who comes out of retirement, etc. And then we have the Miami Dolphins. Miami was sitting at 22. They averaged 23.2 on their opponents per game. So we're just looking at defensive score, their scoring defense. And then, I mean, they blew it up. They would have 27.9. I don't know if we can beat them. I tend to think we lose that game. So we lose against Miami. And then we have the Saints and the 49ers. I don't think we need to really look at the stats when it comes to the 49ers. We know we're going to lose that game, but let's go to the Saints. I think last year we beat, look at this. Their defense was really good. They averaged 19.2 points per game. They're in the top 10. They're number 6 ranked overall defensively. We saw what the Bucs did to us as well. So I tend to think that's another year of Derek Carr. I don't know if he's coming back. He probably will. Offensively, where are they? New Orleans, 23.6. I still see that being a low-scoring game. And remember, Derek Carr got hurt in that game. I remember saying, if Derek Carr plays this whole game, we lose. Now, Jordan Love did play well in the second half of the season, so maybe he doesn't play like doo-doo all season. Who knows? But I'm going to give the Saints the nod on here. That's an L. And then we have the 49ers. We know that's an L. Let's not even talk about that. We went over the away games for the Packers against our division rivals. So now we're going to go to the Jaguars and the LA Rams. So we have the Jags. I'm not a big Trevor Lawrence guy. I don't really believe in him. He hasn't shown me anything to go, wow, look at this guy. I mean, he gives me like a Mark Brunell vibe, where he's a decent QB, but he's not blowing up the stat sheets. And he is still young, so that's one thing to give him. I don't know, maybe he's in his third year, fourth year, third. He's somewhere around there because he was drafted not too long ago. I still think we have enough to beat the Jaguars. Let's see what's going on with the Jaguars. Jacksonville. They were the 15th ranked offense. They're tied really with Kansas City, so that's 22.2 points per game. The last 3 games they averaged 19.3. So, then defensively, Jacksonville was not too bad. Their defense was decent, 21.8. I mean, in comparison to the Saints, but 2 points is, 2 points is a lot, as you can clearly see the difference. So I see that as a tight scoring game, and I feel like what Jordan Love showed us last year, he should be able to win that game. So I count that as a W. And then the Rams, man, again, this is really questionable, right? Very, very questionable. I still think we have their number. We beat the Rams typically. I'm going to skip the Eagles for a moment, and we're going to go to Seahawks, the Seattle Seahawks. I think we get that W, and I think we beat the Tennessee Titans. They don't really have a QB. And then we have the Eagles at the end. I mean, the Eagles, they had a great start to the season. They just fell off. Offensively, they averaged 24.6 points a game. I felt like most of that was probably off of their average from the beginning of the season. Defensively, whereas Philly, man, they fell off the map. They gave up 25.6. I think Sirianni kind of lost the locker room. Something's going on in there. I'm going to give the Packers the head nod against the Eagles as well. It is away, So this is subject to change. So let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have us winning 11 games. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have us losing 6 games. So if the cards turn out right, the Green Bay Packers should end up 11-6 next season. And that's to me, that's putting a lot of pressure on you, Jordan Love. So a lot of people want to call me a hater and be like, "Oh my gosh, such a hater! You hate on Jordan Love. You hate on Jordan Love." I don't know how much hate when you hear me saying I think we win 11 games next year and we only lose 6. That's pretty darn good for your second year playing in the NFL. So we'll just see what happens. I tend to think this is what it's going to end up being when it's all said and done. Again, we don't know what's going to happen in free agency in the offseason, but from what I've seen, like just QB wise, there's not really that many great QBs except for Kirk. If the top free agent is Kirk and then the next guy down is Ryan Tannehill, it's like, bro, what's going on? Which to me, the NFL is just losing talent. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of lost talent. Oh my God, it looks bad. So maybe this is an opportunity for Mr. Rogers down in New York to actually make a run in the AFC. So who knows? Hey, if he goes to the Super Bowl, I love that man, Aaron Rodgers. I will be loving on him. The only opponent that he could face that would cause me to be conflicted would be the Green Bay Packers, but I don't see us making a run to the Super Bowl this soon in Jordan Love's career. But I will say the NFC is really weak. So if he could do it, it would be now. It really would be now. So I want to thank you guys for listening to Just Another Cheesehead podcast. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching me on Twitch, please hit me up with a follow. I would greatly appreciate it. This is what we got for the 2024 opponents. Again, the scheduled times and dates have not been released yet, but we'll see that soon. It will change some of the games, right? Because if we got some winter games going on and we're in Philly during the winter time and maybe it's super cold and snowy, things might change. But I think for the most part, I'm comfortable with what we got going on here. I'll make sure I write this down so I remember for next time whenever we get the actual dates. And as always, if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, you should get to know him. It'll be the best decision you ever make in your life. Ask him to come into your life. You will not regret it. Peace, love, and hap. I'm the Lemesis. I'm just another cheesehead. I catch you on the next one. Peace.